Well, let's continue the conversation around the ANC's 112th birthday celebrations. Scores of people arriving ahead of President Cyril Ramaphosa's January 8th statement. Let's touch base now with our reporters Mweli, Masilela, Juniour, Khumalo and Ziyanda Ngcobo monitoring developments for us there. To all of you, good morning. Let's start with you, Ziyanda Ngcobo. 6 people having died while making their way to Mpumalanga for these birthday celebrations. Does that put a bit of a damper on the celebrations, as the officials told you this morning?
Well, Kholi, to quote Begitele himself, who says he described it as a mishap, not quite, changing the mood here as the thousands of ANC members and supporters continue to make their way here to the Mbombela Stadium. This hour, Kholi, I'm not alone. I'm joined by political analyst Benzi Kasoko, who this morning will be with us throughout the day, especially listening in on President Cyril Ramaphosa's January 8th statement. It's an important year. It's 30 years since the dawn of democracy. What do we need to be hearing from President Cyril Ramaphosa today?
Well, thank you very much, Ziyanda, and greetings to the viewers at home. As you have correctly said, this is 30 years of ANC governance in South Africa. What we expect from where I'm sitting is not rhetoric or repetition of what the ANC has been saying throughout the years. What we need is decisive action to ensure that we improve service delivery in our communities. The scourge of unemployment has become a pandemic in this country. The ANC should stop dilly-dallying. They should create meaningful jobs, especially for young people whose unemployment rate is a ticking time bomb. If young people are not working, then they become a fertile ground for a revolution from below. So it is very important that President Ramaphosa should ensure that he sends a very strong message, and a message that will not only give hope, but will give confidence to the South African citizens that the ANC is now very serious about changing the complexion of service delivery in the country.
I find it's interesting that you speak about a revolution, because as much as we are here to listen to the January 8th statement, this has undoubtedly been overshadowed by an individual called former President Jacob Zuma, and the ANC has not been able to avoid speaking about him. In fact, their own Secretary General speaks about the former president himself. Let's talk about how this Mkhonto weSizwe party that has now been supported by Zuma has overshadowed what was meant to be an agenda-setting week for the ANC.
Correct, Ziyanda. The emergence of the MK party has actually set the agenda for the political landscape in the country. It is very striking that President Zuma, at age 81 or 82, is still a very, very important political figure in the country. That is why the ANC finds itself in 6s and 7s, whether to speak about him or not to speak about him, whether to take him to a disciplinary hearing or not. Because speaking about Zuma, as the SG has done, is actually giving President Zuma a very high political mileage. As we have correctly said, the country is buzzing about the MK party. Wherever you go, people are talking about the MK party. It is clear that the party is setting the political agenda in the country. We're supposed to be speaking meaningfully and confidently about the ANC January 8th statement, but President Zuma has become what Mondli Makanya has described as a pesky fly that will not go away.
A tactical error then perhaps from the ANC Secretary General by speaking about him, and even other leaders, Colin Malachi of the ANC Youth League, also describing him as the monster that the ANC created.
It was a political tragedy that the SG took such a long time addressing members of the ANC, speaking about Zuma, and actually confessing that the ANC lied to the country when they defended the Nkandla Gate. Many people were aware that the Nkandla scandal brought the ANC into disrepute. But for the SG to go to that extent of saying we lied about the Nkandla Gate is actually an insult to the intelligence of the people of South Africa. It actually resurrects the ghost of the utterances that were made by the former Premier of Mpumalanga, Wandaweni Mahlangu, who said famously or notoriously that it is okay for politicians to lie.
But then perhaps you and I can talk about how it's an insult, but do you think for the rank and file who are going to be here that what the SG said is going to irritate them, or perhaps they're more concerned about issues such as load shedding and youth unemployment as you've just spoken about?
The members of the ANC the rank and file should ensure that they become politically conscious, that they take their leaders or they hold their leaders to account. If the SG would have the audacity to speak in that manner, members of the ANC should stand up and say, SG, we have brought the organization into disrepute and we must face disciplinary action in accordance with the strictest dictates of the book of the constitution of the ANC. But we should not expect ANC members to become blind followers used as voting fodder during elections during the national conferences of the ANC. ANC members should stand up and say we demand ethical leadership, because it is clear that we are having in South Africa a problem of ethical deficiency in the political space. So it is incumbent upon all South Africans to demand of political leaders that they should do their politics in accordance with ethics and morals that are acceptable to society. If leaders will go out and speak as the SG has done, then it shows that the country to a certain extent is also fast asleep. Mahatma Gandhi says, if there's an idiot in power, it means those who elected him or her are well represented.
Benzika Soko is the political analyst. He'll be with us throughout the morning. President Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, expected to speak at around 11 o'clock. Well, according to the ANC, we'll be listening closely to that January 8th statement, but undoubtedly there are many other peripheral issues that have bedeviled and taken away the attention of the senior leaders of the party towards issues such as the formation of Umkhonto weSizwe party. But let's get a sense of what's happening on the ground, on the pitch, and that's where we find my colleague Juniour Khumalo. Juniour?
Thank you so much, Ziyanda. Yes, we are here on the pitch. The stadium is filling up slowly but surely, but I'll ask my colleague Usoni just to show you on my right, there is still a lot of empty seats. We had the first Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, Mbombela Stadium, calling on the Police Minister, to tell the police officials to allow the supporters to come in. Apparently there's a lot of supporters outside and they're struggling to make their way into the stadium. So this is what is causing the delay in people coming into the stadium. But we are joined by the COSATU President, Ziyanda Ngcobo, who is here supporting the ANC as its alliance partner. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. COSATU has been very critical of the ANC of late when it comes to the January 8th, especially because of the 9 years of state capture and all of that. Do you think that enough is being done at this point by the current administration to address all of that corruption that happened at that time?
Thank you very much. Indeed, we are here to give our support as we have declared. This is the election of the alliance, not just the ANC, and we're determined to win it. But also we understand the challenges that have been there. The President Ramaphosa had to restore your National Prosecuting Authority, your SIU and all of that, which has been destroyed by state capture and corruption. We think from where he has started and where we are a bit comfortable given the challenges that have been there, given the immense corruption that have taken place and the disintegration of those entities. But we still believe that a lot needs to be done, because what we have started to hear from the statement of the NEC by the President is exactly the issue of how they are going to put time frames in addressing and dealing with issues of crime and corruption in our country. Another issue that we want to hear from the statement is the issue of the rollout of infrastructure and addressing the issues of load shedding, because those two issues are an impediment to the growth of the economy. No investor will want to come to South Africa and invest if you do not have proper infrastructure and if you don't address the issue of PRASA, Transnet, Eskom, SINEL. I think those are key state-owned issues that the NEC of the ANC must have really set up and said, with this time frame, all these issues should be addressed and taken care of. But also what we want to hear from the NEC statement is the issue of filling of vacant public posts. Look, if you go to hospitals, if you go to the clinics, if you go to police stations, public servants are extremely overworked. Vacant funded posts are not filled, and this burden has detrimental effects to the services that must be received by the South Africans and the voters in this country. And we're hopeful that the NEC will be bold on how we're going to address those issues. Another issue that we want to hear from the statement is with regard to the two-part pension system. We're hopeful that the NEC would have directed members of parliament before the end of this administration that they must sign that into law so that workers by the 1st of September, the latest, would be able to make withdrawals from their pension fund. And amongst others, which is not limited on what we'll be raising here, is restoring the dignity of farm workers. We can't be in a democratic dispensation and you have some workers living in the conditions that we continue to see. And we're hopeful that the NEC will be alive to that reality, and importantly also services to our people, ensuring that the stability in the municipalities and that workers are being paid what is due to them by municipalities and services are reaching out to our people.
Thank you so much, COSATU President Ziyanda Ngcobo, just outlining some of the things that COSATU would want to see the President address as he delivers the January 8th statement. But there is still people outside trying to make their way into the stadium, and that is where we are going to go now to join my colleague Mweli Masilela, who's outside the stadium.
Yes, Juniour, you are talking about empty seats inside the stadium. Yes, I can assure you that there's still some ANC members and supporters who are streaming in, trying to get into the stadium. And even early in the morning, some of the people were actually parked at the nearest filling station here. But let me bring in some of those who are still making their way into the stadium. Mama, thank you very much for talking to us. If you can just give us your name and also this day, the celebration of the birthday of the ANC. What exactly does it mean to you as a member?
Lina la ka ke nna Raphatlhe Masikwamenye re tlile mo re tlo celebrate 112 years le ntate Cyril Ramaphosa.
What are your expectations in as far as his speech is concerned today?
Re nagana gore le tšatši le la le gono ntate Ramaphosa o tlo bolela le rena go ya le ka dikgetho tše le gore re tlo di swara. Rena re nyaka ANC e tlo wina mmusho.
All right, thank you very much, Mama. Let me bring you in, my brother. You're saying you are coming all the way from the Free State. Why do you think it's important for you to be part of these celebrations?
Baba Masilela, let me register the compliments of the new season to you and the viewers of Newzroom. Remember, January 8th statement of the ANC, it is not just an event, but an event where the president of the organization provides a mandate and a message of hope to the people of the organization and the country in general. So my expectation towards this January 8th statement, as it is going to be convened today, it is to acknowledge first and foremost the efforts of the government of the day, which we have seen in trying to find peace mission in relation to the conflict that is happening to the people of Palestine against the atrocities done by the Israelis. We want to acknowledge those efforts done by the government of the ANC, and we want to give them an assurance that we want to support them in their efforts in ensuring that they bring peace in Africa and also in the world they contribute.
You've just spoken about the positives, but there are those who are saying that as much as the ANC has done great work in some areas, but there are still outstanding issues. The issue of service delivery, for example, the issue of electricity. What's your take in as far as that is concerned?
Remember, corruption in itself is a cancer. It's a cancer that deteriorated all the state organs in ensuring that they advance service delivery to the people. So in relation to the question that has to do with service delivery, my expectation to this January 8 is for the President to be able to take us through to say, what are the efforts that have been done? I'll make a practical example. When it comes to local government, the President had introduced or made an amendment on the Systems Act and Structurals Act, which has to do with intensifying oversight in local government for the service delivery to be ensured that it arrives to the people. Of course, there will be shortcomings in terms of the issue that has to do with load shedding. We expect that a lot of effort should be done because load shedding, it affects the efforts to develop the economy of the country. And there is a loss of job at the same time due to load shedding. So we expect that the organization should pull up its socks and ensure it put much more effort in addressing this issue of load shedding.
Thank you very much for talking to us. So those are some of the views on the ground here at Mweli. As you can see behind me, more and more ANC members and supporters still making their way to the stadium. It's back to you.
Mweli Masilela, along with our team in Mpumalanga, as we await the president to address that gathering, and the stadium filling up ever so slowly. We're told it is because of security measures for people making their way inside. I suppose the ANC not wanting to take any chances there.